But we're just going to hear now from a few people who are just going to share a few things. I'm just going to mention your name so you're ready for the order that we're going in. So that'll be Jim, if that's okay. So I didn't tee you up for that, Jim. Christian, Janet, Esther, and Charlotte. So there's 5 of you, and I think we're just going to share on a diverse range of things that you've been doing or that you've got planned. And this is really just to give us listening in a flavour of what you're doing in your Catalyst team. So please say obviously who you are, where you're calling from, for those of us who don't know you, just to give a flavour of what's going on around the country and give us some ideas, fire our imaginations for how we might do things locally where we are. So yeah, over to you, Jim, first, if that's okay, if you want to unmute, and I'll bring you on the screen.
Hi everyone, yeah, I'm Jim Hacking. I'm a logistics catalyst in Morecambe Bay, and I just want to tell you a little bit about some of the events that we've been doing recently, something called Friendship Meals. I'm going to try and share just a couple of slides if that's okay, John. I'll have a go, see if it works. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but we'll try. It
should, if I put the settings on right. Yes,
yeah, that working?
Success. I could be your logistics buddy.
Yeah, we need more logistics people.
We do.
It's definitely a good thing to have if you're in your teams as a logistics person. I think it really helps the leader to have a logistics person, takes a little bit of the administration away from them. So if you haven't got a logistics person, that's my other tip for the day. Get a logistics person. Yeah, so Friendship Meals. So this is just something that you may have heard us previously mention, something called Bible Beer and Curry, which we did a little while ago in Morecambe Bay. This is our most recent iteration of that thing, which is basically what we're now calling a friendship meal. And I'll just explain a little bit more about that. And it kind of fits in with our kind of mission, really. We have our kind of strapline: serve, bless, and bring hope. And I think we were just really conscious that, in particularly the last couple of years, lots of our colleagues are sort of tired and a little bit missing kind of contact with people, and we just wanted to do something to sort of bless our wider colleagues, not just our sort of smaller group of CMF people, but as many people really that we know that would like to come along. So we tried to think of a format that would be more open and easier for people to come to, easier to be invited to than perhaps a more formal meal. Because you might say that, well, we have meals all the time, but I guess the idea in these meals is it's really easy to invite people to them. It's really attractive, and it's a sort of thing a wider group would want to come to. I mean, obviously you're going to get your normal core CMF people coming as well, but it's hopefully something that they can invite people to. So like I say, the idea is to have a fairly open invitation. So, you know, it's basically people can invite anybody they like, really. I mean, we don't even really particularly restrict it to medics. It can be, you know, health professionals, anyone. You can pretty much invite anybody, really. But I guess the challenge for that is that's quite unpredictable, because if you've got your sort of core of people that you know they're going to sign up, you know, if they said they're going to come, they're going to, you know, they'll order the food and they'll pay and that sort of thing. It's quite predictable, isn't it? But this open invitation is quite unpredictable and kind of a bit hard to handle. But yeah, so we pretty much invite all colleagues and students. We're not maybe been quite as popular with the students as with the juniors. The juniors really seem to like it, and perhaps not so much the students. I think maybe the juniors miss going out for curries and things with us like we used to. Like we don't really do drug meals anymore, for example, do we? So I think the juniors have really liked it. But like I say, it's purely an opportunity for sort of friendship and fellowship. It's not really, there's no kind of agenda to evangelize or even, you know, have a Bible study or anything like that. It's just purely just for fun for its own sake, really, pretty much. And we found like a quiz is actually quite good, and maybe just 1 or 2 little discussion questions on tables, but really kind of light and nothing heavy. Okay, so top tips. So first thing is to try and keep it simple. So it's trying to think of a way of organizing it that's going to be easy to do, that's not going to be too burdensome on you as the organizer, and it's going to kind of work for the restaurant, really. Probably part of that is building that bit of a relationship with the restaurant and choosing a good night for them. So Monday nights, Tuesday nights, midweek sort of things that the restaurants prefer, because they're quiet and they're not too bored at filling every table. A curry does definitely work well, and I found the curry houses will do like a fixed set price, so a mixture of curries and starters and naans for say £20 like that, and that's really easy for people to book on. And similarly, pizza works quite well because pizza's quite an easy thing to make, and you don't have to have lots of complicated ingredients like, say, chicken or steak, whatever. It's like, they seem to be fairly happy pizza places for you just to pitch up on the night and kind of order different pizzas on the night. Eventbrite is a really useful tool. It's free to sign up to, quite easy to use. You get like a link that people can WhatsApp to friends and stuff. And I tend to do this thing where they just kind of book in their seat, and you put it free, and then they just pay on the night, because obviously what you don't want to be doing is handling loads of money and taking lots of orders. You just want people to basically say they're going to come. Publicity is obviously key. So we use like Facebook, WhatsApp. We have this thing called GP News that we can circulate it through to our sort of wider colleagues. But at the end of the day, it's the personal invitations that work. So having that kind of shareable link that people can forward on to friends and WhatsApp to colleagues is probably the most powerful thing. And there's just a couple of little pictures. So that's one curry house that we went to. That was the first one we went to. You might recognise one or two of the Morecambe Bakery on there. And then that's another one there. That's a different curry house. This curry house, interesting, is a converted church. And that particular night, we got a lot of consultants came from so a lot of our Muslim colleagues came to that one, which was quite interesting. And that's that. That's helpful. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jim. Great job. Really enjoyed that. Thank you. We're going to move on because of time. Thank you. We're going to move on to Christian. So I think if you're here, Christian, if you want to unmute, and I'll find you.
Thanks very much, John. John, I have a couple of slides that I can share very quickly if it's useful. If not, I can just talk through them.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, you can share some slides. You should be able to share them.
Let's see. And you can tell me if it's not working. Let's see.
That looks good.
Yeah, okay. Thanks very much, Jim. That's very helpful. And thanks to John for organising today. It's really helpful for me to see what's happening across the country. I'm called Christian. I'm a locum GP based in Belfast. I'm part of the reasonably newly established Northern Ireland Catalyst team, where I help with juniors and evangelism. In thinking about this morning, I suppose I was reminded of kind of the key aims that were sent through to CMF. I'll not read them all. I'm sure they're well known to lots of you, but thinking through discipleship, evangelism, mission and values, really my hope was to try and apply each of these quite broadly to the junior doctor network within Northern Ireland. What that has meant in practice is that our general objectives are promoting engagement, and particularly with students as they come through to become junior doctors. Really, we want to provide an opportunity to develop a good ethical understanding of what we believe and why we are distinctive as Christians in the workplace, provide both encouragement and confidence in expressing our faith within the workplace and using the networks that exist within medicine locally, including BMA, the RCGP and various representative roles, and then hoping to develop both character, fellowship, and really leadership skills that might be helpful both within the church to the doctors who are known to us and within the workplace as well. And then finally, at the very bottom of the screen, you'll see that there's a bit of a complication for us as well, because we have very large neighbours just south of the border, and we're trying to learn how to support them as well. So quite a broad brief. This is a summary page of what we've tried to do. It looks quite full. The bottom 4 events are ideas that are really planned in the future. The titles that you're seeing really reflect the nature of the events that we've had so far. We've had one event that was coffee and a walk, and that was really designed to promote some engagement. We ended up with 15 junior doctors coming along to meet members of the Catalyst team and enjoy coffee. We have a planned carol service that we're hoping to use as an outreach event in December. And really that's an opportunity to link in with wider NHS staff across the city of Belfast. And we're hoping to provide something that is firmly centred around outreach for that event. And the 2 other events that you can see here were actually held in a local arts centre. It's beside the place of work that I'm in daily. There's a coffee shop and an art space upstairs with a projector and 10 tables and about 40 chairs. And they very kindly offered to lease that space for free to a series of doctors. We have one local CMF member who's recently written quite extensively, called Dr. Paul Coulter, and he has kindly agreed to lead a series of discussions with junior medical staff. And really what we're aiming to do with these events is introduce a broad ethical overview of how a Christian doctor should think through their position in the workspace. So Reclaiming the Lost Art of Medicine is really an overview of what scientific research really brings to medicine, how we assess these claims, and how we assess claims within the context of being doctors and applying what we learn to patients. And Life and Health in a Gospel Perspective was really a Christian overview of the value of life, from beginning of life to end of life. And the other topics that you'll see just beneath are things that we are hoping and planning to lead discussion events for junior doctors over the next 12 months or so. So really aiming for an event once every 3 months if possible. Positives, we have lots of Christian doctors in Northern Ireland. Linking them up via WhatsApp has been really useful. In particular, we've seen some good engagement from students coming out of Queen's University in Belfast and staying connected with us in their first year in the F1 programme. For us, the venue of a local coffee shop has worked well. Granted, it's quite a unique setup in that they have an art space as well, but establishing an informal relationship with them has been fantastic. And it might be worth highlighting as well that socially they might not have been expected to promote the Christian Medical Fellowship. They have a very broad brief of interests, and that includes the Belfast Pride Parade and so on. So we were delighted that they were actually very willing to work with Christians who I think they probably have presumed don't share their core beliefs as such as a business as well. And we're very grateful for the space they've given to us. I would echo that Eventbrite's been very helpful for us as well, both in disseminating the event to members and in giving us some idea who's going to come along on the day. A few drawbacks or improvement points for us. Trying to make connections to begin with experienced doctors in particular throughout the region, both north and south of the border, and trying to actually reinvigorate their engagement with CMF is something that we're working on. So again, I would echo personal invites to people who are known to be Christians and perhaps have informal church connections with known CMF members is really, really valuable. And I think the bottom slide or the bottom point on this slide says it's a trial and error approach. That would very much be my experience so far. We're profoundly encouraged that people are interested in ethical topics. I think that was one of the things that I was worried about, but people actually really want some meat and bones. That's the feedback we're getting, that people want to talk about difficult things, and it seems to be bringing junior doctors along. So we're delighted.
Super, thank you, Christian. Wonderful. Thanks so much for that update. It's really encouraging. As I say, we can make that available if you want to rewatch. And there's other junior catalysts on the call today. So thank you very much indeed. And just before we break, just invite, I'm actually going to ask Esther just to come in, and then Janet and Charlotte will hear from you just after the break, if that's okay, because we're going to break for coffee. So Esther, did you want to come on and tell us a bit about what you're doing in Oxford?
Yeah, sure. Hello, I'm Esther. I'm one of the leaders in Oxford, and we've got Sarah and Wilhelmina there from our team. So this year we've done a few CMF breakfasts, which were events where we met on a Saturday morning. One of the local members hosted and cooked us breakfast. And then we heard from some of the speakers. So one time we heard from a local psychiatrist, and then recently we heard from a local consultant surgeon talking about work and life balance, and he was talking from Colossians 3:12-25. It was really encouraging because we had lots of new members joining from the hospital, from the prayer groups where we advertised. It was really nice to just fellowship over morning breakfast, even if you're not a morning person, to wake up from that and then and hear from him. Something we're planning to do in November is an event called Renew Oxford, and it's a bit like, the idea was to have like a mini CMF conference locally we're hoping for about 150 to 200 healthcare workers and social care workers, where we come to hear from a keynote speaker and have a few seminars in a similar format to CMF seminars, to introduce people to the work of CMF, and also to help them be equipped from that. Because I think a lot of local healthcare workers do want this kind of will benefit from this kind of things, but haven't actually been directly connected to CMF yet. I think rather than me talking on, I think John has a video that we can share, which Imani very kindly made for us.
Yeah, I just need to go, there we go.
Renew Oxford and CMF presents Hope for Health and Social Care, a day conference on Saturday the 26th of November. Imagine what God could do with a group of Christian health and social care workers, united and equipped by the power of His Spirit, rebuilding hope and renewing vision for Christ-centered health and social care in Oxford. From 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at the King Centre. Book on renewoxford.org. This meeting is open to anyone working in health and social care and those who support Christian health and social care workers.
Yes, I think one of the key to mention about this was that we partnered with one of the local churches who had a big conference venue and who had a vision for this, and they were very helpful in providing the logistics, the venue, and the organisation of it. And we kept it widely open to those in healthcare and social care and those who are supporting workers in general, because we wanted it to have a wider catch that CMF may not necessarily have. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Esther. Charlotte, yeah, tell us a bit about what's going on in the west of Kent.
Yeah, thank you. I haven't got quite such a swish and snazzy presentation as some of the people who went before, but so we kind of relaunched ourselves post-COVID, and as I took over as leader in West Kent just almost a year ago. We're quite a small group, and we've tried and continue to try different meeting formats, and we've also got a WhatsApp group. Probably the most successful thing has been a midweek meeting in the evening with sort of food plus a Bible study, which the juniors seem to find easiest to attend. And we had quite a fun Shrove Tuesday meeting when, let's just say, that more pancakes were cooked and consumed than Bible verses studied, but nonetheless, it was a good evening. Having said that, some people do find kind of Sunday afternoons better when, if we've got sort of young, members with young families, they can attend too, because evenings are sometimes difficult for them. So we've tended to alternate. And we haven't found Zoom. We've tried Zoom sort of prayer meetings just for 40 minutes, but I don't think those haven't been so successful. But we do tend to use the WhatsApp group for urgent prayer requests. Our next event is actually a week tomorrow. We're going to have a walk followed by tea and a talk with actually a colleague from East Kent. And we can chat and pray, and we've actually opened that up to East Kent members for the first time as a one-off, just to see what happens, because there's no Catalyst team in East Kent, but there are quite a lot of Christian doctors there. At the moment, the geography I think is putting people off, and I know geography is an issue all over the country, just hearing about Ireland and Northern Ireland and East Midlands and West Midlands as well. And I think at the moment, expressions of interest for our meeting next Sunday afternoon are still quite few, so prayer would be appreciated for that. In terms of the kind of vision and priority, I think enlarging the group and filling the various roles is the main thing I want to concentrate on. And it's always hard to know how to encourage people to get involved and commit. And that's why it's really useful to have sessions like this to hear what everybody else is doing. The curry nights, obviously that's something that we can take away and try. And as I say, I only got one other Catalyst member on the team so far, and he's the Junior Doctors Catalyst. And he's a really busy person. I'm retired, so I have much more time. But that's been, you know, a blessing for me to be able to serve in that way and to have that time, because I don't think I could have done it while I was working. So I think that's all I wanted to say, really.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. And it's a reminder, I think, that, you know, teams are very different. Some of your teams have, well, 8 to 10 members, some have 1 or 2, and geography is very different. And just to encourage us that actually there's a range of things we can do. It's great to experiment, isn't it? And try, hey, experiment with a curry night. What can go wrong? The curry's nice, but to just encourage us just to keep going, really, and to keep trying things. People are very busy. I think you noticed that. We've noticed people are, even today, there's many people have emailed me who are invited to today, have got weddings and other conferences, and, you know, children start, or young people starting at university, they're taking them, things like that. So it's a very busy time. People are engaged, and let's just keep seeking to serve people and seek to unite them and equip them in the unique way that we can do. So thank you for that, Charlotte. Janet, you were just going to mention retreats. I mentioned some retreat resources, and we've heard in previous meetings from the West Midlands team about online retreats and in-person retreats. But Janet, you're going to share a bit about your retreat, if you are there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'm here, and welcome everybody. Why did we have this retreat? It's a story I need to rewind a little bit, because this was to do with the Haven Care and Counselling, which is an organisation, a charity based in Ashby and Loughborough. And it's been going for about 30 years, and they're all Christian counsellors. How wonderful is that? And some are psychotherapists, and also they are trainers as well for those who need placements. So this wonderful work has been going on for years, and general practitioners have used it in the area, and also the psychiatric services. Of course, we had lockdown, and we had problems with management, and our treasurer died. So a number of things happened. And at the end of all of this, as we came out of COVID, there was myself and another trustee, and we said, there is nobody. How can we manage this now? And I said, well, I just have perfect peace. It's not going to close. I just know the Lord is in this, but we need to pray. And we have a chaplain, and 3 of us came together, and we prayed and we prayed and we prayed, and God answered. And we got a chairman, a treasurer, more trustees, people came on board, and so it was almost like a resurrection. And I said, the important thing is that we keep praying. We have a monthly prayer meeting and also a prayer letter, and we look after our counsellors now. We don't sit on committees and think that it's all going to be hunky-dory. So I organised a retreat day at St Mary's Nanpanton, and I booked the church, the chapter house and the woods. And our chaplain said that Jesus often spoke from the Psalms, and so he said, I'm going to use the Psalms because it's got every emotion you can ever think of is in the Psalms. And so we had the first session on Psalm 104, which was creation, awe and wonder, then Psalm 51, which is sorrow and repentance. Then we moved from there on to thirsting and longing, Psalm 63. And finally, we moved on to joy and praise, Psalm 30. And there wasn't a lot of talking, as it were. We could go off, and after our time of reading the Psalm, singing the Psalm, saying what stood out for us personally, we then could go off either to the chapel or outside. And because the church owns the woods, and I wondered, John, if you could share those pictures, because I think most of us decided we just wanted to go out in the woods. And because this was during the heat, you can see that the leaves were like autumn leaves. And this was very much not what we were expecting. And I came across this, I thought it was beautiful. And I know that the church have a garden club, and that this is part of their work. But I thought how constant God is in his in the work of creation and regeneration, and even during the darkness or the dry periods or things that look as if they're not going well, God is in that. He's in the detail. And then I came across these flowers in the midst of a dry, arid patch. I looked into the distance. I could see through the woods as well. I think that comes on the next slide, that I could see the light. There was the shadow, but I was drawn towards that light. And the constancy of a God who answers prayer, the constancy of a God who's always with us, and the constancy of a God who cares about each part of us. So we came away rejoicing. We also had time of reflection and time for prayer, time for silence. And we also had a wonderful tea. And I managed my Devonshire scones in spite of my oven throwing fireworks at me. And I had to get a new element, and that happened just shortly before the event. So God was with us. God answered prayer. God resurrected us from an awful situation, and he gave us all that quietness and that confidence in him in a retreat day, which was well received. God bless you all.
Thank you, Janet. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
Janet. Yeah, thank you. It's a wonderful reminder, isn't it, of just the taking some time out and making space for that time out in very busy, full lives. We're often very activist, doing lots of things, but actually stopping and just appreciating who God is. I'm just reading a wonderful book actually called The Making of Us by Sheridan Voisey. I really recommend. But charting his pilgrimage on the St Cuthbert Way, starting at Lindisfarne, but just stopping and reflecting on God in nature and in all that he's done is just very refreshing. So thank you very much for that, Janet.